Stripe, just can you put a number or some names with some true freshmen? I know you have 4 games with the redshirt rule that you can mix them in, but if the game goes according to how you feel it might go, who might play this game out?
Everybody's got to be ready to roll because, like you said, the 4-game rule, we want everybody to have an opportunity to play. So, they all have to be ready to roll. Some of the guys who have been here a little longer, talking on offense, Garrett and Jamison, we got to be ready to roll. They'll probably find their way on the field at some point. Harry Miller is another guy that, as a freshman, could get on the field. The 2 running backs on defense, all those linebackers, Stover and Young. So they all got to be ready to roll. Some are further along than others, but those are some of the names.
Zach Harrison, is he a definite possibility?
Yeah, Zach will play for sure. Yep.
And folks, if we can, unless it's something that really needs a follow-up, let's try to stay one question on Thursdays just so we can get as many guys in. Second, first one, right, Austin?
Ryan, I think offensive coordinators always want to go for it on 4th and maybe, anything. As a head coach, will your perspective change on that? Will you be as aggressive as you might have been in the past?
Yeah. I mean, never, putting the team at risk. Always, really smart about that. Not letting your emotions get the best of you there. But we're going to be aggressive, and we want to be aggressive. And it all depends on the situation. When it is in the game, the flow of the game. Is it a high-scoring game? How is the defense playing? The situation, the weather. All those things come into play when you make those decisions. And a lot of those decisions have been made before you go into the game. And so, trying to take your emotion out of it is the best thing to do.
Or aggressive when it comes to that, or how do you view yourself?
No, I mean, I think that we want to make sure that we're always aggressive, and that's always been my mindset. But at the same time, we can't force anything.
Front row left, Mitch.
Ryan, how much can we expect to see Justin taking snaps directly from center instead of from the shotgun? And was that a difficult transition for, other than him in the center, other people on the offense? Did that take a adjustment?
It's something we looked at in the offseason, but our offense is going to be very similar to what you saw last year, and every year you experiment with a few things, but for the most part we'll be in the shotgun.
Second row left, Ari.
Ryan, Garrett Wilson, you threw in there as a return guy. Is there a reason for? This is just a guy that has to be on the field. How's he progressing? What's the update with him?
Yep, his like you said, he's a guy that we want to get on the field. He's a playmaker. His ball skills are very good, and being a returner, there's a lot that comes with that. You have to have tracking, you have to have depth perception, you have to have good hands and timing and those type of things. I think he has those, but again, you don't know with a returner until you get him into the game, and based on how everything shakes out and how things go on Saturday, you would like to get him a couple returns.
Far left, Lori.
Coach, you talked about how your car ride's a place where you seek peace and seek answers. We're approaching game time very quickly. I'm wondering what occupied your mind on your last car ride.
It was more about with the staff. When you get into Thursday, Friday, it becomes about your meeting time and being organized in meetings, your tips, your test, the way you're presenting information. I think, and we talked about it today in the meeting, sometimes you can give them too much information this time of year because you're going into a game where you're trying to cover all your bases, and sometimes you can paralyze players. So we don't want to do that. We want to be nice and clean. We want to be clear, concise, and direct in our meetings, do a good job, and let them play fast.
Second row left, Bill.
Ryan, you mentioned the other day that maybe you're not quite sure what to expect from the defense as the new coordinator. Mike worked with this guy at Oklahoma State. I'm just wondering if you relied on him any extra this week with his background and relationship with Glenn.
Yeah, a little bit, but he's changed even in the last couple of years, and I know that there's other guys on that staff that are going to have influence on what he's doing. But yeah, talk to him a little bit about his experience. At Oklahoma State, but I think they've changed. Just looking at the way that they view some of their 3-down stuff, and last year at Charlotte. But then also, I know there's going to be an influence here from the other coaches there. So we're going to have to kind of adapt once we get into the game.
Right, Bill.
You were asked about kick returners and punt returners on the radio show. Who will be your top kick returners and punt returners?
We got a bunch of guys out there, right? That'll be kind of ready to roll. With DeMario and KJ and Garrett will be in the mix right there. So we'll kind of roll those guys. We'll play with a little bit of depth, and then we'll kind of see as the game goes on who's got the hot hand.
Front row left, Doug.
Is Tough your punt protector?
He's one of them.
How about Gunners?
Yeah, we're going to roll gunners. Chris will be out there and Jeff will be out there, but we have a bunch of guys that'll play gunner. But that's a position that was awesome last year. They were really good, and Jeff and Chris and those guys have some experience doing that. But those two guys got to step up for us.
This is all one question. As much as we all talk about the importance of special teams, just are there a couple guys maybe on kick coverage or other parts of special teams who have really hey, they're going to be core special teams guys, whether they're young guys or
a lot of our special teams guys are back when you think about the guys who have played, and so when you take a look at the back end in terms of skill with safeties and corners and those kind of guys, they're kind of all back. So those guys played last year with Isaiah Pryor and those type of guys. The linebackers, same thing. Tight ends, same thing. We didn't really lose a lot of those guys, and those would make up your special teams. There's still some young guys like Craig Young and those guys who want to make an impact on special teams, but when you look at our kickoff return, punt return from last year, most of those guys are back. So they're experienced, and I think Matt's done a really good job of teaching. He's a great teacher and embrace that, but we got to pick up from where we left off last year.
Second row right, Tony.
Ryan, you mentioned Zach Harrison. We know he's an incredible athlete, and every step of the way he's stood out, be it winter workouts, spring, and it's not just because he's a good athlete. Why is he going to play on Saturday? What makes him more than just the athlete?
I think the defensive end position is changing every 5 years, and the longer body types, they almost look like big basketball players now, and he has that body type, he has the athleticism, but the thing that surprised us when he got here is just really how mature he was in his approach. Played tough, practiced hard, had a very mature approach about him, and so I think his ceiling is through the roof, and now he's just got to get some experience.
Third row left, Dan.
Ryan, as you get each day closer to the game, does the reality start to hit you a little more that, hey, I'm really Ohio State's head coach and I'm about to do this for the first time?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But, again, you go on a journey with a bunch of guys, a bunch of coaches, staff members, and then players, and it's fun because when you go lock arms together and go play somebody, it's all the work that you put in up to that point. And if you trust the training, if you trust everything you've done in the off season, if you trust everything you've done in preseason, if you trust all the preparation you've done in meetings, then you have confidence and you can go play with speed and toughness because it all goes back to how you train. Because once you get into a game, you're going to fall back to the level of your training, and so we have to have confidence in that, and we will.
Front row middle, Dave.
Ryan, what is your vision in terms of how the tight ends will be used in your offense? Do you think it'll be similar to the last couple of years, or do you want to get them maybe perhaps more involved in catching passes?
Yeah, it'd be very similar to the way it was last year. But I think they're just a year older, a year more mature, and we have some really good wideouts, so we want to get those guys on the field. But that's a strength for us because of the experience of that group, and but we'll need all of those guys.
Front row middle, James.
What have you seen from Thayer Mumford returning from injury, and how important is he to this offense?
He's really important because he's one of the returning guys up front. The rest of those guys, Brandon played a little bit, but he's not a returning starter. He's really the only returning starter we have up there. So his experience is critical, especially being at left tackle. He's done a good job in preseason, and he's ready to play.
And final question, front row right, Tim.
Bo, you are the only undefeated coach in major college football. Did you know that?
I did not.
At this point. That's not my question. My question is, preseason camp, give me a name of one guy that you've seen rise, could be a returning player who's suddenly gotten it and stuff, that you're excited about seeing play on Saturday, or maybe a couple.
I'm looking forward to see J.K. run. I want to see that. I think his approach and his demeanor after splitting, reps with Mike, we talked about how he's kind of looking for home runs. I want to see him run with his pads down. I'm really looking to see the secondary, though. I really want to see these guys. I mean, we go against them every day, and I just say to myself, it's hard to throw against these guys. I mean, they're contesting every throw. They do a really good job, and I just can't wait to see what these guys look like on Saturday.
After a starter, or what do you expect from Pro?
So again, we just kind of look at it like, is he starting potential? Does he have the ability to play? And the answer is yes. Jordan will start, but Josh will play as well.
Great. Coach, thank you
Yep.
very much.
Thanks, guys.